You've had a chance to absorb a little bit with the fractions and maybe possibly even look at the homework assignment to see how to operate with those problems. We're now going to move on to decimals. So I see here solve -10 equal to 0 and 25 hundredths or 1/4 times the quantity 8y minus 12. Well, I know when I do this problem, and I'm going to move this down just a little bit, so that way I have an opportunity to have a little bit of workspace. I know that when I see this, I need to first bond this out and use the distributive property. Now, I know a lot of you struggle with multiplying by decimals, and we haven't actually done that officially in this class, even though you should know how to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this as being equal to 1/4. Now, one thing that you should have learned in the past is that the word of, this word means we want to multiply. So when I say this, I'm saying I'm going to have -10 equal to 1/4 of 8y minus 1/4 of 12. Now, whether you choose to just do it in your head or whether you choose to work it out is up to you. Now, I'm going to put 8y over 1 and 12 over 1. So when I do that, I see that 4 and 8 have a common factor of 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So that leaves me with -10, I'm going to extend the page here, equal to 2y minus, and then I see 1/4 of 12. 12 and 4 have a common factor of 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Then I have 1 times 3, which is 3. So now I have -10 equals 2y minus 3. So now if I go back to my plan of attack, if I built this equation, which you had to do in Learning Target 8 Day 2, I would first multiply by 2 and then subtract 3. So when I do my U-turn and go backwards, I'm going to undo -3 by +3, and I'm going to undo multiplying by 2 by dividing by 2. So let's start out by adding 3 to both sides, which -10 plus 3 is -7. These cancel, and that leaves me with -7 equal to 2y. So then I'm going to go ahead and divide by 2 on both sides. And that leaves me with y on the right, -7/2 or -3 1/2 on the left. One thing that I would really like to see you do, because we did start with a decimal at the beginning, is to then convert this back to a decimal, saying -3.5 equal to y, simply because we did start with a decimal, so we should really add with a decimal. Now let's go ahead and move on. And so we're going to summarize first our steps. I wanted to go through that one first. Step 1 really is to change decimals to fractions. If you choose not to do so, that is fine, but please be aware some of these problems can get quite messy if you do not. Step 2, simplify it as needed, which in our case, in this last example, was to use the distributive property. And then use order of operations backward, which sounds familiar, to determine which operation to undo first. Then go ahead and use the golden rule to undo it and cancel it. And then repeat your steps. Actually should be 3 and 4 as needed. So now, knowing that, I'm going to scroll up here. Please feel free to pause at any time if you did not get those steps. So I'm going to go look at D. Solving -1/2 times the quantity -3m minus 2 equal to 32. So I'm going to first rewrite this using fractions. So -1/2 times -3m minus 2 equal to 32. Then I'm going to go ahead and bomb out the 1/2. Negative times a negative is positive. Half of 3m is not, by any means, 3.5 m. It is half of 3. If I have $3 and I take half of it, I get 1 1/2, or 3/2 m. And minus a negative times a negative, once again, is positive, so we'll plus it. Half of 2 is 1, equal to 32. Now, for the sake of ease later, I'm going to take this 1 1/2, I'm going to get rid of it and change it back into 3/2, because we'll end up having to change it that way later. So then, looking at my plan of attack, it's multiply by 3/2 and then add 1. So when I U-turn it, I'm going to subtract 1 for my plan and then divide by 3/2. So subtracting 1 from each side, I get 3/2 m equal to 31. So now my plan is to divide by 3/2, divide by 3/2. And the reason why this part works is because, remember, 3/2 divided by 3/2, we do keep flip change. 3/2 times 2/3, 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 3 is 6, 6 divided by 6 is 1, which is why these get to cancel, leaving us with m. Now, 31 divided by 3/2, 31 over 1 divided by 3/2 is equal to 31 over 1 times 2/3, which we don't have any common factors, so we end up with 31 times 2, which is 62 over 3. And when I go to simplify that, in this case, this one you don't want to put back into halves or into decimal form because thirds are repeating decimal. So 3 goes into 6 twice. 3 does not go into 2 at all, so you have 20 with 2/3 remaining, and that would be your solution. So what you need to do now is go ahead and in your notes, try the A and the B, one with decimals, one with fractions, complete those and bring those to class tomorrow, and don't forget to write your summary.